6648. Planet Glee is part of the SF Live shows. It's a call-in show, and it's a lot of people ask me, oh, what's the show about? And I have to say that it's a show about healing. It's about compassion. It's about learning how to live with each other without getting upset. So on the show, I've had a massage therapist, Vedic astrologer. Someone spoke about public traffic and the pedestrian. Had writers on, people who write books, people who make movies. People who play music, and this is actually the first time on Planet Glee that we're really going to have someone on who is going to talk with us about something that is a very important issue to me. I don't usually get political on Planet Glee, but I feel very strongly about this issue, and I've always wanted to work for this organization, but I hope at least in having him on that we can get a little bit closer to that. And anyway, so we have an esteemed guest tonight, and I will show you. Oh, you know what? I've got the wrong camera on. That whole time you saw my guest. Well, okay, this is Planet Glee for you. It isn't CNN. Okay? Or whatever those other news shows are on the mainstream United States television. Meanwhile, this is Planet Glee. I was supposed to have the the camera on me the whole time, but we had it on the two-shot. Oh well.
C'est la vie.
C'est la vie. Oui. Alright, so let's take it up and find out who our guest is so we can see him directly.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Bob. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me. So my name is Bob Offer-Westort. I work with the Coalition on Homelessness, where I'm our civil rights organizer. And I'm also working with a much broader coalition of organizations against the proposed sit-lie law.
Absolutely important. I'm wondering how many callers are going to call in on this one, because I want you to be able to ask questions. I'm going to ask some first, and then if you want to make comments or have questions, that would be wonderful. Okay. I think I'll do the two-shot and ask Bob how you first of all. Let's explain the sit-lie law for those people who don't know.
Sure. So there's a proposal right now that was put forward by the chief of police after some pressure from the Chronicle, our local newspaper of record, to make it illegal to sit down or lie down on any sidewalk in the city between 7 a.m. and 11 p.m. That's the meat of the proposal. Just making it illegal to sit or lie down. And there's some confusion around it. There's a lot of people who think that it's about obstructing the sidewalk, but that's not actually it. There's already a sidewalk obstruction law, which has been in effect for a little over 30 years now, and which the police do use. This would be used only in cases where the sidewalk is not blocked. So it's just plain sitting or lying down. That's what the law is.
And it's between the hours of 7 a.m.
and 11 p.m.
and 11 p.m.
That's right, on every sidewalk in the city. It's the call for this kind of came from some complaints about behavior on the sidewalk in the hate. None of this had to do with anybody sitting down or lying down, but the idea was if you could get people on an innocent behavior, then it'd be much easier than trying to prove that they were guilty of more criminal behavior. So sitting and lying was seen as a very easy kind of innocent behavior to target. But the problem with that is then you have to choose who's going to be found, who's going to be charged with sitting on the sidewalk as a crime, and who not. Because clearly, and the police say that themselves, they don't think that every person who sits on the sidewalk is a criminal or should be treated like one.
Well, the police say that themselves. That's interesting. So I'm confused. How would a sit-lie law be different from the laws we already have?
Sure, it's a pretty different kind of proposal from other laws that exist. One is that it targets an innocent behavior. Generally, if you're going to be charged with a crime, the thing you're doing that's a crime is something you have to do deliberately. You can't commit a crime by accident. It's a basic concept of like Anglo-American law.
Right.
Like even if you're talking about involuntary manslaughter, that's generally a case where there was some kind of negligence. You didn't fulfill a duty you had to other people. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it's just a tragic accident, right? But with sit-lie, the idea is something which isn't just, there isn't any intention to hurt people. It's more than that. It's something which is a biological necessity. Like people have to rest.
Right.
So that's one way in which it's really, really different. It targets something that, biologically as humans we have to do. It targets rest. Another way in which it's different is that it's seeking to the police tell the proponents of the sit-lie law that they'll be able to use this to deal with people who commit other kinds of crimes, which means that the idea of sit-lie is to get around the need for evidence, right? Because if you
or to anticipate that someone's going to do something, therefore target a certain way that someone looks, right?
That's right. So it's either cops would be saying, well, I guess most likely cops would be saying, we know because of something about this person that they're likely to commit a crime in the future, so we're going to prosecute them now.
And what is it that makes? Have they made a list yet?
Of what the criteria would be?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
They have not. There's no guideline in the law
Mm-hmm.
that tells them who they would target. Clearly, you would think they wouldn't be targeting old men playing chess while sitting on chairs on the sidewalk.
Right.
They wouldn't be targeting Girl Scouts selling Girl Scout cookies while sitting on a chair on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
I mean, you would hope they wouldn't do that. But what actually is the criminal act then? So the criminal act kind of ends up being a person who the police distrust, and that's really, really vague.
It's very vague. Yeah, I'm wondering if anyone feels strongly about this topic, please give us a call. I feel very strongly about it. I think that I don't know. We'll just go on. Who would most directly be affected by sit-lie from your experience in working with the homeless population?
Well, I think that what we generally see is that when there's broad police discretion, what happens is that our broader social prejudices end up becoming the basis of police activity rather than the law. And going from that, it seems very likely that people who would be targeted by the sit-lie law, if it were passed, would be, obviously people, because they don't have anywhere to sit other than outside, right? But also day laborers who have to sit while they're waiting for work. Youth of color in lower income neighborhoods where there aren't open spaces aside from public sidewalks. People in SRO hotels in crowded parts of the city, particularly, and SRO hotels for viewers who might not know what they are single room occupancy hotels. They're very small hotel rooms that are a person's entire living quarters. Such people who want to spend any time outside are going to want to rest at some point, and they don't have places other than the sidewalk.
I think I forewarned you that I sometimes come up with some things that are a little off the wall. That's why callers, you have to call in and save me, because I always ask stupid questions. But it makes me think of Chinatown, because there's an area where you see a lot of older people hanging out on the street, and kids and people just relaxing in the sun because there's sun there, and so I mean, is this more of a neighborhood thing? Do you think, or I'm not sure? Well,
I would certainly think that any San Franciscans who live in really dense neighborhoods, like Chinatown, or like South of Market, or like the Tenderloin, or like large parts of the Mission, should be very concerned, because it means that the public spaces they have access to are going to become places where they can no longer hang out, at least not legally. So certainly I would think people in Chinatown should be concerned, yeah. I don't think it's meant to